Here's my review of Loki Season 2, Episode 2. I thought that this was another really good episode, and I'm just really just relieved to say that these shows are good again. At least this one is so far. And when the basic premise of this is Loki and Mobius using an actor to track down Sylvie. And I thought that this was a really fun episode. You get some great aesthetic where they travel back into 1977 to find an actor known by Brad Wolf to help them find Sylvie because he was like actually a TVA agent and then kind of went rogue and just kind of used that to his advantage to become an actor in the 70s. And it's a really cool concept. I thought it was a lot of fun and I loved seeing the aesthetic, and that's probably one of my favorite things about this show in general is seeing the different aesthetics of the time periods that they travel to. It's basically just a fun time travel show. And of course, Mobius is great as always. He's probably the standout of this show. And you get some really nice scenes, I think, with Brad and Mobius in this McDonald's when, like, Loki is talking to Sylvie. And I will say, whenever there's this McDonald's, like, this kind of feels forced. But I'm like, oh well, I still don't mind it because I do find these characters really endearing. And I thought that this was the best part of the whole show. It's basically when Brad is kind of interrogating Loki, and then Loki kind of starts interrogating him back. And we finally get more of that classical evil Loki that I feel like we have been missing for so long, where he genuinely feels menacing. And obviously, Tom is just a terrific actor, and he just is able to just be so terrifying while almost in a way looking meek in terms of like, I don't want to say like his appearance, but like in a way he's kind of scares you almost from a distance just by the tone of his voice. And I thought that was one of the highlights of this episode was this interrogation scene, and I thought that was great. And like I said, when they use Brad to find out Sylvie's location in 1982 at McDonald's, you do feel like this is kind of forced because it's obviously a sponsor, so that kind of takes you out of the episode a little bit, but I still enjoyed it quite a bit because I just didn't like these characters, and I've just been enjoying this plot at least. And it's cool seeing Sylvie again. She gets some pretty nice moments towards the end, but clearly the highlights of the show are, of course, Loki and Mobius. But Sylvie is pretty sweet here, too. And like I said, Brad just has so many just interesting discussions. And he's definitely probably my favorite character of this episode. He was the best standout part. And he puts you in a way, and the way he talks is just very interesting, where he's talking to Mobius and he's talking about the life that he could have had. And Mobius is saying how he doesn't want to know what his life was because it would just make him sad. And it is very interesting because you're hearing about this character who we know from season 1 was taken from the original timeline. And it's sad because he would rather live with not knowing than knowing what could have been and would feel sad. And it was a really interesting discussion, and I thought that it was just done really well here. And Brad comes off in such a way of almost like he says it almost in an arrogant way, where he's almost mocking and putting down Mobius, but at the same time is charming in the way he does it. And that's what I thought was so great about it. He was definitely the standout, and he's in a way he does kind of feel like Loki in terms of his personality, in terms of how he's very cunning and almost can put you down, but at the same time, like, there's something about him that he's very charming. And of course, the aesthetic is on point. That's one of my favorite things about this show. It's just seeing the aesthetic. It's always beautiful. I really like the uniqueness and stylized show that this is, and that was just as well done here as it was throughout all of season 1 and first episode. And when it comes to aesthetic, I don't know how many points I should give it to this show for that, but it is one of the things that, say what you will, that is one of the things that made me really enjoy this. And even though I don't really feel like that's how I should judge something, that is caring a lot about it, because something about this world of this show is just very captivating. You like looking at it. It's almost calming, like the way the TVA looks, the way the costume design are. But that's just kind of me talking about That's just me talking about the aesthetic, but there is a lot more depth, obviously, to this show that is really good. But that's personally one of my favorite things. So yeah, overall, Brad was the standout of this episode, but I did like all the characters. And you get some good scenes with Obi in this episode too, but I didn't really feel like he was as important to talk about as much here. But overall, I thought that this show, in this episode in particular, was very good. I personally really liked it. And like any of these time travel shows, you could always be like, that's stupid. That doesn't make sense. And I acknowledge that. And that's one of the things where I go into the show knowing that there's probably going to be some stuff that's stupid and dumb and doesn't make sense. But at the end of the day, I just liked it. I just liked seeing this adventure. I loved seeing Loki develop as a character. And one of my favorite parts is you do get to see more of the menacing side of Loki that has been really lacking, I think. Maybe in season one, a lot of people, that was one of their complaints, actually, that he almost felt different. And I really liked how menacing he felt here. Especially when he's about to, like, torture Brad. And, of course, Tom's acting is just incredible. And the way he laughs, and it's almost a maniacal laugh, and it just makes you sick. And that's what was the standout of this episode, I think. But yeah, overall, I thought this was a really great episode. I enjoyed it more than season one, which is good. And I'm really hoping that this show continues to be good. We got 4 episodes left. We need more episodes of these TV shows because they always feel rushed, but I'm really hoping that this could pull it off. Season one, I thought, did a good job, so I'm hoping that this will pull it off. Next week is this mid-season finale. And yeah, so far, I really like this episode, and I'm liking the show.